Today we'll be covering the moderate resorts at Walt Disney World to help you decide if these are the right fit for you and your travel party. Hello and welcome to the Let's Go to Disney podcast. I'm Oliver.
And I'm Lucy.
Today is Sunday, November 10th, and you're listening to episode 61, Guide to Walt Disney World's Moderate Resorts. Before we get into today's main topic, here's what's going on in the parks right now. The first Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party officially kicked off the holidays in Walt Disney World. That happened 2 nights ago on Friday, November 8th. The event looked like a success and a blast as always. Jollywood Nights also had its first party last night, November 9th. This is the second year, and it has some important changes that should increase guest experience this time around. The event is running an hour longer, which is already a big improvement because we definitely felt pressed for time last year.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's a lot to do and not a lot of time to do it in.
I felt like we were constantly on the move.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We'll be watching closely for guest reactions on the changes for this year. Santa is meeting in Disney Springs near Pin Traders, where Star Wars Trading Outpost was until recently. He's meeting on a rotational basis between 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. The space for the meet and greet is super well decorated and looks kind of like Santa's workshop. You'll have to join a virtual queue to meet Santa. There won't be a standby queue. You can do that right on the My Disney Experience app, and of course, there will be a PhotoPass photographer there to capture the moment. The Gingerbread House at the Grand Floridian is now open and welcoming guests. It looks great again this year and has several nods to its 25th anniversary, something Disney has been doing since 1999, if you can believe it. The store inside the house is also selling treats, including those popular shingles, among other treats. We're not a huge fan of those shingles. They're a little spongy and they're mass produced, right?
Yeah.
So having said that, it is kind of like a
rite of passage almost when you stand in line for so long.
Exactly. And it's iconic because they're
part
all
of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're all over the place, right?
But I would probably never get it again.
No, once you've gotten it once, I think.
I'd try another treat that they had there.
For sure.
Yep.
Yeah, they have lots of different treats. The Cinderella Castle Dreamlights gingerbread display is also open at the Contemporary Resort. This is located on the 4th floor. There's also a store here selling treats, but not out of the castle itself. If you're there right now or are going soon, swing by to check it out. The others are sure to open in the coming days and weeks, so keep an eye on those if you're going soon. Over at Disneyland Resort in California on the West Coast, Disney Parks blog dropped their guide to the 2024 holiday entertainment at Disneyland Resort. The festivities officially kick off there on November 15th, and there are new and returning offerings for this year. There will be a new show named Mirabel's Gifts of the Season. It'll be a musical Fiesta de Navidad celebration with songs you know and love from the movie. There will also be a new nighttime show named A Musical Christmas with Mariachi Alegria de Disneyland and Miguel. This will feature singers and dancers in a bilingual performance highlighting beloved Christmas tunes. And there will, of course, be an appearance from Coco's Miguel. Mickey's Happy Holidays and Holiday Toy Drummers will be marching along California Adventure's parade route for daily performances. And Saturdays and Sundays, November 16th through January 5th, there will be Disney Navidad Street Party hosted by the Three Caballeros, featuring Mexican folklorico dancers, mariachis, Brazilian samba dancers, and percussionists. And of course, Mickey and Minnie will make an appearance in festive fiesta attire. Holiday Fun with Santa and Friends will be a new experience at the Fantasyland Theater, where guests will be able to meet Santa, make crafts, and participate in sing-alongs of holiday classics. There will also be a Santa meet and greet in both Disneyland and California Adventure, November 15th through December 24th, and at the Disneyland Resorts Collection, November 28th through December 24th. The Disney Holiday Dance Party at Tomorrowland Terrace is returning nightly, November 16th through January 6th, and a Christmas Party Fantasy Parade is also returning daily at Disneyland Park, and Believe in Holiday Magic Nighttime Spectacular will be nightly. Over in California Adventure, World of Color Season of Light is also returning nightly. It's a Small World is getting its usual holiday with thousands of Christmas lights. It looks so beautiful every year. I love the facade at Disneyland's version of the attraction. It's just so pretty, especially at Christmas time.
I agree.
Disney Parks blog dropped their general foodie guide for the holidays at Disneyland Resort, as well as the foodie guide for the Festival of the Holidays. Check that out if you're heading out to the West Coast for the holidays. And Disney also shared 2 interesting concept art photos to their social media pages this weekend. The first was a look at the Moana float coming to Disney Starlight, which is the new nighttime parade coming to the Magic Kingdom next summer. The float looks like Moana's ship floating on curls, kind of made to look like waves, and what looks like literally thousands of little lights. So we can't wait to see what this parade will look like. And they also shared another concept art photo of the Pirates of the Caribbean themed tavern coming to Magic Kingdom, and that's going to be also in 2025. The photo shows families and couples sitting and enjoying drinks. And one guest is seen drinking out of a mug that kind of looks like a skull. It doesn't kind of look like it is a skull, yeah. And Disney hasn't said what will be on the menu, but looking at the photo, We're guessing alcohol will be served here. That would be a first for Magic Kingdom, where alcohol is only served at table service restaurants. We're curious to hear more on that.
Yeah, absolutely. In other Magic Kingdom news today, I did see on social media that Mr. Elton John was performing. I should say Sir Elton John was performing there today.
Because they were filming the Christmas parade.
Yes, so that would have been something cool to see if you were there today. So jealous of everybody that was there. I love Elton John.
Yeah, if you were there today, that's awesome for you, yeah.
Very jealous. So for us, Christmas hit the house in a big way this weekend. The kids didn't have school on Friday, so we both took the day off and then we put up our Christmas decorations. We know it's early, but we love it. We've said it before, we are huge Christmas people. We've had coffee with only the Christmas tree on the last 2 mornings, and it's been absolutely glorious because it's still 100%. Dark here in the morning till about 8:30 or so it's perfect.
Yep.
Aside from that, Oliver's actually on a training course at work for the next 2 weeks. The first week runs from 12:30 p.m. till 8:30 p.m. And then the second week is even worse from 3:30 p.m. until 11:30 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
So that basically means solo parenting for suppers, homework, bedtime for the next 2 weeks. But we knew it was coming. We're prepared. It's all good. It's just for 2 weeks. And our kids are pretty easygoing. So it's not like it's toddlers that I'm dealing with.
Yeah, and I do feel bad because it's a busy time of year for us, right? It's Sophia's birthday is coming up on December 5th. She shares her birthday with Walt Disney, FYI.
She does.
But we're planning her birthday party, right? We're starting to get ready for the holidays, starting to line up gifts and whatnot. We also have our office Christmas parties, and there's a big party at my work that we both go to every year as well. So there's a lot going on, and this course lands like in the weeks leading up to it. So it's not ideal, but like Lucy said, we knew it was coming, so we'll get through it.
Yeah, exactly. We've totally got this.
Yeah.
So with that being said, let's get into today's main topic. This week, we'll pick back up from where we left off last week with the value resorts. The value resorts are, once again, Art of Animation, Pop Century, and All-Star Music, Movies, and Sports. If you want to hear more about those, our last episode, episode 60, is the one you're going to be looking for. Reminder that Disney categorizes their resorts offerings by tier, which are value, moderate, and deluxe. Value being the least expensive, offering the least amount of amenities, dining options, and then deluxe being the most expensive and then offering definitely the most amenities and nice perks like proximity to the parks. Moderate lands just somewhere right in the middle there with more to offer than the value resorts, but not quite as much as the deluxe resorts. And their prices reflect that. Being more expensive than the value resorts, but definitely less expensive than the deluxe resorts.
Yep, exactly. And just like the value resorts, they are Disney resorts, right? So they qualify for all of the same perks for the most part as any other Disney resort, except for extended evening hours, which are only offered to deluxe resort guests. But you will get complimentary transportation to and from each park. And to Disney Springs, you'll have access to 30 minutes of early entry to each park every day of the week. You'll be able to book dining 60 days ahead of your stay for every day of your stay for up to 10 days. You'll be able to book your Lightning Lane multi-pass and single passes 7 days ahead of your park stay, or rather your resort stay, right, for up to 14 days. Reminder that Premier Pass is only available to guests staying in deluxe resorts as of this recording. This is still a new addition to Lightning Lane and like the whole Lightning Lane lineup. So that could change. Only time will tell on that. If that were to change, we'll report it here. And with that said, the moderate resort hotels on property are Caribbean Beach Resort, Coronado Springs Resort, Port Orleans French Quarter, and Port Orleans Riverside. These last two, French Quarter and Riverside, are sister resorts, I guess you could say, because they're physically located like super close, like literally right next to each other. And they do share some of the same amenities. And we'll get more into that in just a bit. Fun fact, Port Orleans Riverside and French Quarter used to be one and the same, right? They used to be one resort named Dixie Landings, but they were split and renamed to Port Orleans Riverside and French Quarter in 2001. They are still themed to Louisiana, but they also received some welcome changes, and today they're both in the moderate resort lineup and are both good options. Also, until very recently, this summer actually, the cabins at Fort Wilderness were also in the moderate resort category, but the cabins were completely updated and are now part of Disney Vacation Club. The new cabins look really good, you guys. We know some people aren't a huge fan of them because they're not quite as rustic, I guess, as you could say as they used to be. They're more like updated and sleek looking. But inside, they're super nice. They're well appointed. They have a full kitchen, 2 beds, bunk beds, and are perfect for a larger family or like a multi-generational trip kind of thing.
Yep.
We definitely think we'll stay here with the kids at least once.
Oh, for sure. They look really, really good. So, all right, in no particular order, let's start things off with Caribbean Resort. This resort is themed to the different islands of the Caribbean, and the resort is split into 5 neighborhoods representing different Caribbean islands, and the names reflect that. These are Martinique, Jamaica, Aruba, Barbados, and Trinidad. The buildings in each neighborhood are distinct pastel colors like pink, yellow, blue, purple, and green, which shows the separation between the distinct neighborhoods. So if you're ever taking the Skyliner, you've likely glided over the Caribbean Beach Resort, and then you're going to see that sense of how large and spread out this resort really is. It actually takes a while to get over it.
Yeah, 100%. Like flying over it, like you really get, like Lucy said, a sense for like just how massive it is. And like it surrounds water, which is Barefoot Bay.
Yeah.
And it's just sprawling. It's
like
huge.
I don't even know how you'd find your room at first.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, for sure. Yeah.
The buildings all surround Barefoot Bay, like Oliver said. It is massive. There's no doubt about it. The rooms aren't overly themed and are very similar from area to area, with the exception of the Little Mermaid rooms that replaced the pirate rooms in the most recent refurbishment. And on that note, this resort did receive a recent refurbishment, and the rooms look really, really good. They have lighter paint colors like cream and light blue, vinyl flooring, and some updated furniture. The standard rooms have 2 queen beds or a king bed, and then some rooms have a 5th sleeper included in the new Little Mermaid rooms. These all have the 5th sleeper rooms in those ones. And FYI, this 5th sleeper is a bed good enough for a small child that usually doubles as a TV stand.
Yeah, exactly.
Sophia, our daughter, has slept on this bed at resorts like the Polynesian and the Wilderness Lodge, and they are perfect for her.
Yep.
I'd say she probably has maybe 1 more year before she starts to... Maybe 2.
Yeah, no, probably 2, because I bet you Caleb, he's 9. He would also fit on those.
Yeah, you're right.
But like any
One
kid,
false move, though, they could fall.
No, but well, not just that, but I think that probably around like 12 years old for the average kid, they'd probably start to get a little bit too tall for that bed.
Yeah.
Yeah. In terms of prices, for standard rooms, you can expect to pay around $240 per night on the low end during like lower seasons, and over $400 per night on the high end during busier seasons. Certain room categories like water view rooms, which could mean like pool view or views of Barefoot Bay, depending on where you are going to be a touch more per night. And preferred rooms will be on average $20 to $30 more per night on average, or much more. We'll give you an example. So we're actually staying at Caribbean Beach Resort next May. And when we booked, we decided on a standard room. We got a good deal, and the whole week was just over $1,800. But had we opted for a preferred room, we would have been looking at over $2,400 for the week. That's just under $100 more per night for a preferred room. Now, what exactly is a preferred room at this resort? Well, it could be one of 2 things. You're either close to the main lobby, which is Old Port Royale, which has the main dining options. It's fairly close to the main pool. Or 2, you're going to be close to the Skyliner. So you don't get both, right? So it really depends on what's important to you. So for example, buildings 24 and 25 in Martinique are super close to the lobby, but they're a good, 5-10 minute walk to the Skyliner station. And you may not know where you'll end up. So you could, splurge for a preferred room to be close to the Skyliner station, but you end up near the lobby. Another thing to keep in mind as well is that this resort is so big that some of the rooms are actually closer to the Riviera Skyliner station. So it might make more sense to grab it from there. Again, it's not a deal breaker. It's just something to be mindful of, depending on where you are on the resort when you check in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something else I want to point out, and this is true not just of Caribbean Beach Resort, but pretty much all of the Disney moderate and value resorts, these are motel style. So what I mean by that is that the rooms are open to the outside and there are no interior corridors at these resorts. Plus, the buildings at Caribbean Beach are 2 stories and they don't have elevators. So if you have, mobility concern, or if you have small kids, right, and you're traveling with a stroller, for example, make sure to let cast members know that when you check in and request a ground floor room. Requests are never guaranteed, but cast members are excellent at accommodating reasonable requests.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And if you're physically incapable of going to the 2nd floor, they will put you on the ground floor.
Yeah, 100%.
They're not going to force you to go up
absolutely,
the stairs.
Absolutely, yep.
All right, so next up, let's talk transportation. Now, just like the other Skyliner resorts, Caribbean Beach benefited hugely when the Skyliner opened in 2019. And we actually rank Caribbean higher in terms of transportation, not just because it's a moderate resort, but because the main Skyliner hub is actually found at this resort.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you're taking the Skyliner for Pop Century to Art of Animation or even Riviera, to get to these parks, you have to get off at Caribbean Beach to take either the Epcot line or the Hollywood Studios line. Riviera is on the Epcot line, but you do have to get out to get to Hollywood Studios, or I suppose you could walk to Caribbean Station from Riviera. We have done that before. We'll go deeper into that when we cover the deluxe resorts. But anyway you slice it, Caribbean is definitely the main hub. So when you're staying here, you don't have to worry about transfers. If you want to go to Epcot, you get on the Epcot line. If you want to go to Hollywood Studios, you get on the Hollywood Studios line, and it's that easy.
Yeah, literally that easy. Yep. It's really nice for that for sure. Now, the less desirable transportation option at the resort is buses. And it's not that buses are bad, right? We've said this before. We don't actually mind the buses at all. But the resort is large. So it does have an internal bus loop with no less than 7 stops.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Right? So this is in contrast with the one-stop value resorts that we covered last week, right? So pros and cons though, right? Yes, you don't have the entire resort getting a line at one bus stop. And since it's such a large resort, you don't have to walk a long distance to get to any one bus stop, right? There's one nearby almost certainly.
Yes.
But the flip side of that is that the buses pick up in a certain order. And if you're later in that pickup sequence, the bus can be full by the time it gets to your stop, especially during peak times like park opening. So what order do the buses pick up in? That can be important, right? This has changed over time, but it's usually starting in Martinique, right? And it's going to loop clockwise around the resort, stopping at Aruba last before heading out to the parks. The order for Disney Springs does differ, so something to be mindful of there. It may be worth it walking to an earlier pickup or bus stop, right? To make sure you get on a bus. We've done this before when we were staying at Coronado for this exact reason, and we'll talk about that when we get to that resort. But either way, we strongly suggest when you check in, go talk to the cast members and confirm what order the bus is picking up in, right? That can be... that can determine where you might want to walk to in the morning.
Absolutely.
Again, it's not...
It'll determine it for us.
Yeah, exactly. Like we will probably do that,
Yep.
but you certainly don't have to do that. But if that's something you want to do, just confirm that with the cast members. They'll tell you. So long story short, for Caribbean Beach, it's Skyliner to Epcot and Hollywood Studios and buses to Animal Kingdom, Magic Kingdom, and Disney Springs.
All right, next up, let's cover dining. So the moderate resorts do have more dining options than the value resorts, including a proper table service restaurant, except for French Quarter, which we'll get to in a bit. But at Caribbean, you're going to have a few options here. Sebastian's Bistro is a table service restaurant at this resort. It serves up a family-style menu with Caribbean-inspired cuisine. They also serve a coconut pineapple bread pudding with caramel sauce and vanilla ice cream that is basically a carbon copy of the one you get over at Ohana, but for a much lower price point, which is very ideal and it's definitely worth that in my opinion.
Yeah.
This restaurant is good if you're staying at the resort, but we definitely wouldn't go out of our way to experience it. Centertown Market is the quick service location, which has the standard Disney options, as well as a couple of more unique Caribbean-inspired dishes. It also has the Centertown Grab and Go, which serves your coffee, drinks, pastries, and similar items that you can take with you. There's also the Banana Cabana Pool Bar Lounge, which has light bites and specialty drinks and cocktails. And then the Spyglass Grill quick service is located over at the Trinidad neighborhood, and it has actually a pretty decent menu of just standard options. It's good to have and not to have to walk all the way to the main area of the resort. This resort has decent food, but it's not quite as good as the other moderates, in our opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Especially when you compare it to like resorts like Coronado, right?
Coronado, our favorite.
It's not even close. But given that it's on the Skyliner, you're only a short ride away from the Riviera or the Boardwalk area resorts and Epcot. So it's not like there's no good dining options nearby. All right, next up, let's talk amenities and recreation. So like the other Disney resorts, you've got movies under the stars every night, as well as campfire activities, free marshmallows, but s'mores stuff does cost money.
Yes.
But the marshmallows themselves are complimentary. You can go catch and release fishing. There's beach volleyball and a nice 2-kilometer walking or running trail around Barefoot Bay. There's also a playground and an arcade here. The flagship pool at the resort is the Fuentes del Moro pool, which has a colonial Spanish fortress / pirate theme and 2 water slides, one which is 102 feet long, which is awesome. There are also water cannons here, which is a blast for the littles. No pun intended.
I honestly think our kids are going to love this pool.
100%.
We're really pumped about staying here.
Oh, yeah,
honest with
absolutely.
you.
Yeah.
Like, even just like to have the playground as an option, like just something different for the kids to just burn off some energy. So this is going to be a good one.
If you want them to burn off energy, just walk around the resort.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's also the shipwreck area here for the smaller kids, right? And it has its own mini slides. This is where you're going to find Banana Cabana as well, like Lucy said, right? The pool bar. Aside from that, there are 5 leisure pools on property, one in each of the neighborhoods.
Yeah, you can see those from the Skyliner usually.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
They usually look pretty quiet.
Yeah, no, exactly. These pools are okay, right? They're definitely quieter, like Lucy said, but once your kids get a look at Fuentes del Moro, the leisure pools likely won't cut it. You guys, I can almost guarantee you
the
that.
leisure pools are good for like adult only groups that don't want to be with all the kids.
And we experienced this at Wilderness Lodge, right? We didn't go to the quiet pool once, so make of that what you will.
Yeah.
Every time we walked by it, it was like straight on through to the other one.
Our kids didn't want anything to do with that one.
No, exactly. So with that said, Caribbean Beach Resort, right, is a good option to consider for your next trip. Like we said, the perks are good enough that we are staying here for our next trip. Like Lucy said, the Skyliner really is a good feature at this resort. The dining is decent. The pools are great. And, you know, there's a lot to love about this resort.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm really looking forward to our stay here. Like I said, I think the kids are really going to love it. We'll just immerse ourselves in there. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, so next up, let's head over to Port Orleans Riverside. So this resort is themed to rural Louisiana. The resort itself is split into 2 distinct areas, which are the Alligator Bayou and the Magnolia Bend. The area's buildings are different and the landscaping as well. Disney did a really good job of making that distinction. Magnolia Bend has grand-looking buildings with big white columns, water fountains, big staircases, and manicured landscaping. You kind of get that vibe from like that deep south that you kind of feel like in Alabama, Louisiana. You see it in the movies. That's kind of what you're getting that vibe from.
Exactly.
The Alligator Bayou area, the buildings are definitely more rustic with like a darker color palette. And then the area has more greenery and walking paths to emulate more of that bayou environment. The rooms in this area are also themed differently. Just like at Caribbean Beach, they've also received a refresh in recent years. The rooms at Alligator Bayou are darker greens and definitely more rustic furniture inside. They have nods to the Princess Tiana and are very, very nice rooms. The rooms also have 2 floors and no elevators, just like at Caribbean Beach, so definitely be mindful of that. And then the rooms over at Magnolia Bend have that lighter color palette, more upscale furniture, but overall layout of the room is basically the same. The rooms have either 2 queen beds or a king-size bed. Rooms are usually at about $250 a night range, but probably closer to about $300 most nights.
Yeah, exactly.
And then definitely over $400 a night during those really busier times.
Yeah, like the holidays and whatnot.
Absolutely. Yeah. You also have the Riverview rooms, which are definitely going to be more expensive. Again, you don't have balconies at this resort, but they open to the outside. The extra splurge definitely just isn't worth it for us at these resorts. They also have preferred rooms, which aren't different in layout, but will be closer to the main lobby. So these are roughly around $20 to $60 more per night. Some of the rooms also have a 5th sleeper option, which is definitely nice. Once again, if you have that smaller kid that can fit on that bed. The ringer at this resort are the Royal Guest Rooms. Aside from Art of Animation, these are the most themed rooms on property. The rooms are regal and nice, dark wood furniture, frames of princesses and princess, nods to Aladdin with the carpet and the magic lamp-shaped sinks. Very cool there. Even the headboards have light-up fireworks. So cool. If you've got a princess fan in your party, they are definitely going to love these rooms for sure. They are more expensive than the standard rooms, usually at about $420, closer to even $500 per night during the busier times.
Yeah, no doubt. The Royal Guest Rooms are really nice. Sophia would absolutely love those rooms for sure because of all the nods to the princesses and even like the little like nods to Aladdin. Like the carpet has what looks like the carpet from Aladdin like inlaid into the actual carpet, which is pretty cool. She would definitely get a kick out of that. All right, next up, let's talk transportation. So Port Orleans Riverside is considered to be in the Disney Springs area of Disney property, which makes sense because it's closest to Disney Springs. Now, this is nice because Disney Springs has a ton of dining options and plenty of shopping. But Disney Springs is a little further away from the parks and the other resorts. The Disney Springs area resorts are actually the Disney resorts that are the furthest away from pretty much everything else. Now, this is relative, right? You're still on Disney property, so it's not like you're far. And in terms of getting to the parks early in the morning, buses will compensate for that, right? So they're going to pick you up a touch earlier to make sure you're there on time for rope drop. With that said, there are 2 transportation options at this resort: riverboats and buses. The boats will take you to nearby Port Orleans French Quarter as well as Disney Springs. It's a really nice like leisure boat ride and a nice way to get to the springs. For the parks, it's bus transportation. And just like Caribbean Beach Resort, it's pretty large in terms of like area, right? So it does have that internal bus loop as well. Now, it's not quite as big, so it's only 4 stops, not 7, which is nice. And again, you're not all fighting for the same bus stop. And you don't have to walk far to get to one of any of the 4 stops, right? But you do run the risk of having the bus full by the time it gets to you. So again, pros and cons. The order of the pickup here is the main building first, which is the South Depot, and then clockwise from there. So West Depot, then onto North Depot, and then finally East Depot before departing for the parks. Again, buses will factor in that internal loop to get you to the parks in time for road drop, so don't sweat that. This is also subject to change, so be sure to check that pickup order with cast members when you check in. Again, it could be worth walking to the first stop to make sure you get on the bus, especially at those peak times.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that could definitely be worth the extra steps. Like we truly, truly agree in the extra steps in order to be one of the first on the bus. All right, next let's talk about dining. Riverside Mill Food Court is the quick service location here. It serves up your standard options as well as some themed options like jambalaya and gumbo. And then there's also grab and go options here as well. Boat Wright's Dining Hall is the table service restaurant here, and it actually services both French Quarter and Riverside, since French Quarter doesn't actually have their own table service restaurant. The restaurant is themed to a shipyard and serves up some New Orleans-style cuisine. So some standout options would be the pimento cheese fritters and Bananas Foster's bread pudding for dessert. I've always heard that that's amazing. I've never had 100%.
It though. We'll have to try it.
Yeah. These are some really good options and good Southern comfort food. One of our favorite meals is jambalaya, so we would be all over that.
At, God, what's that place that's escaping me? Jesus, we always go there. At Universal.
Bubba Gump.
Yes, thank you. The jambalaya there is amazing.
So
Yep.
good. Bubba Gump is another shout out to Bubba Gump. So good. But just like at Sebastian's, it's definitely not the best on property. So it's a good option if you're staying here at French Quarter, but definitely not worth going out of your way for. Muddy Rivers at Old Man Island is the pool bar and has those light bites and fun cocktails and non-alcoholic drinks you're kind of looking for poolside. And then you also have the River Roost Lounge, which has light bites and cocktails. But the ringer is Yeehaw Bob Jackson, who is also performing at the Port Orleans for over 20 years now. This dining here is much better than Caribbean in our opinion, and it has more options than French Quarter, but definitely still not as good as Coronado.
No, Coronado reigns supreme.
Can you get a theme here from
when it
us
comes to dining? Yeah.
with Coronado?
I couldn't agree more. All right, next up, let's talk amenities and recreation. So there's a lot going on at this resort, and you can certainly have a fun resort day here. So of course, it's got your standard movies under the stars and campfire activities, but you can also take a horse-drawn carriage ride. This costs $65 for a nearly 30-minute ride, and it can fit up to 4 adults or 2 adults and 3 small children. Reservations are highly recommended if you want to experience this at the resort, and you can do that right on the My Disney Experience app. You have bike rentals or Surrey bike rentals, and there's a walking and running trail along the Sasagula River, which takes you to French Quarter and Disney Springs. You can also do some bass, catch and release fishing here as well. Aside from that, there's a playground and an arcade at this resort too. And the main pool area at this resort, like Lucy alluded to, is Old Man Island, which is themed to an abandoned sawmill and features a 95-foot long rustic water slide built into the makeshift mill works. There's also a kiddie pool area for the smaller kids as well. And this is also where you'll find the Muddy Rivers pool bar, like Lucy said. One thing to note here, pool hopping is generally not allowed on Disney property, but guests of Port Orleans, French Quarter, and Riverside can access the pools at both resorts. So something to keep in mind if you're staying at either of these resorts, you can pool hop. So, is it worth it? Well, this is a beautiful resort with great theming, great room options, and some decent dining options as well. The proximity to Disney Springs is also really nice, which has many more dining options, and that's a major plus in our opinion,
absolutely.
Right? Sure, it's only buses, but again, that's never been a problem for us. Buses are old, reliable on Disney property, right? We've said that before, and we really mean it. This is a solid option, and you should definitely consider staying here during your next trip.
Yes, absolutely. It really is a beautiful resort. All right, so next up, just a little ways down the Sasagula River is the Port Orleans French Quarter. So again, this resort used to be part of Riverside, so it still has that Louisiana theming with more of the emphasis on New Orleans specifically theming. The buildings here are bright pastel colors like teal, blue, pink, and yellow. The balconies have these lovely wrought iron and picturesque internal courtyards complete with water fountains. It's really beautiful. There are cobblestone paths and nicely manicured greenery. Some of the rooms look out onto the Sasagula River, and it's a beautiful walk along the river there. The lobby at this resort is beautiful as well. The walls are glass walls with these beautiful indoor fountain and cobblestone flooring. It really is a nice looking lobby.
I agree.
It's quite beautiful when you walk in there. You just feel like elegant walking in there.
Is, absolutely.
That's probably like it's very elegant.
It is. I do like that lobby.
Yeah.
It's really super nice.
Yeah, absolutely. The resort is compact, like much, much smaller than the other moderate resorts, and it's definitely very subtle theming. Again, the rooms here just got a refurbishment very recently and was completed not long ago. The new rooms feature bright colors with light blue headboards and furniture, cream-colored paint, and the nods to Tiana. Prices are similar to Riverside here. Prices are somewhere in that $300 to $400 a night on average for a standard room, and then they can go up to over $400 a night during the busier times.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
The standard rooms here have the 2 queen beds or the 1 king bed. They also have that 5th sleeper option here as well. Rooms have that either standard view, river view, garden view, or pool view, and then there will be small fluctuations in the price there depending on which room you end up getting. Again, this resort is much smaller, so you won't be far from anything when staying here.
Yeah, it is much more compact, no doubt about that. And, that's one thing that struck us big time the first time we came here to grab beignets. It really is like a small resort, which is actually pretty nice, right? Because it doesn't take long to get anywhere.
No. Exactly.
All right, transportation. So the situation here is pretty much the same as Riverside. This is in the Disney Springs area, so you're close to Disney Springs, but farther away from some of the other offerings on Disney property. It's the same river boats to Disney Springs. You can also take those boats to Riverside as well. And we didn't mention this when we talked about Riverside, but there is a walking path between the 2 resorts, right? And it's not that far, probably like a 10-minute walk or so. We did it on, not our last trip, one of our
trips ago.
Yeah, a couple trips ago. We did that walk, and it's quite nice. Along the river there, it's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
The 2 resorts also have their own buses, so you'll see buses specifically for both French Quarter and Riverside. But during off-peak times, these resorts will sometimes share buses. So you may have to go from resort to resort and do the loop at Riverside during less busy times in terms of transportation, right? Just something to be mindful of that you could run into right during your trip. So just be mindful of that.
Absolutely. And that's very true and not unique to this resort either. We've also taken buses to the Poly that were also dropping off at the Grand Floridian.
Yep.
Disney will do that sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
It makes sense for them during the non-busy times.
Yeah, off-peak times, exactly.
All right, so next up is dining. Now, you've heard us say a few times today of these places we've talked about that these restaurants are good, but definitely not worth going out of your way for. Well, Scat Cat's Club Cafe is definitely worth going out of your way for.
Yeah, 100%.
This is where you're going to find these delicious Mickey beignets. The first time we came here for these, we weren't quite sure what to expect given all the hype, but we're here to tell you it's 100% worth the detour. We are actively advocating that you definitely take time out of your day, take a bus here, and enjoy some delicious beignets.
Agreed, yep.
You can also get their dipping sauces, which are caramel, strawberry, or chocolate.
Yeah, and it comes with one, right?
Yes,
so you choose one of the three.
And that's good to know.
We got all three just to try them all.
Well, you have
and
to.
they're all delicious. My favorite's probably caramel.
I like the chocolate. It was really good. Yeah. Although the strawberry was good too. You can't go wrong.
Yeah, they're all good. Yeah.
And you definitely want to wash that down with a specialty coffee, if you so wish.
Yep.
Scat Cat's Club Lounge is right next door, and it features light bites and cocktails. There's also live music here on select nights, so definitely be sure to check that out during your stay if you choose to stay here. The quick service restaurant here is Sasagula Floatworks and Food Factory. This is similar to Riverside Mill Foods Court and has that standard options as well as southern-inspired dishes like jambalaya and gumbo. They also have the Mardi Gras pool bar and lounge where you can definitely get those light bites and cocktails and those non-alcoholic drinks as well. Like we said earlier, there is no table service restaurant at this resort, but you definitely can pop over to boat rides at Riverside if you like. And then, of course, you can get on the riverboat and you're going to have literally 100 dining options over at Disney Springs.
Yeah, literally. Like over 100 dining options, 100%. Yeah. Like Lucy's saying, it's limited options, sure, but with Disney Springs just down the river, you can't go wrong there. All right, next up is amenities and recreation. So this is very similar to what's going on over at Riverside. It's almost identical. So movies under the stars, campfire activities. You can take that same horse-drawn carriage ride, go bass fishing on the Sasagula, rent a bike or a Surrey bike, and go for a nice ride along the river. Or walking or running. It's all the same trail. There's a playground and an arcade here as well. And the flagship pool is Doubloon Lagoon, which features a 51-foot slide through a sea serpent. There are more Mardi Gras kind of themed figures around the pool area as well. There's also the Doubloon Lagoon water play area for kids under 48 inches tall. This is where you're going to find, like Lucy said, the Mardi Gras pool bar. Reminder that guests at this resort can pool hop, so if you want to go check out Old Man Island at Riverside, you're more than welcome to do that. Quick note, if you've got an upcoming stay here in December, like of 2024, the Doubloon Lagoon pool will close temporarily from December 16th to 21st for a quick refurb. And just like Riverside, it's a beautiful resort area and the compact size is quite nice. We really like the look and feel of this resort and the proximity to the springs is super nice. Plus, beignets on demand, all right? How can you say no to that? You should definitely consider a stay here. It's a solid option.
Absolutely. A couple of my cousins and their family stayed here January of last year, and they highly recommend it as well. Yep. They really enjoyed their time there. The kids love the pool there.
Yep.
They really enjoyed it.
And we've said this before, and they never had beignets, which is crazy to me.
Shame, Kim and Bryn.
Fail. Yep.
All right. Now, last but certainly not least, and we mean that because it's always been in the running as definitely our favorite resort on Disney property out of all the resorts. We really, really love this one. And that is Coronado Springs. Mm-hmm. We love this resort.
Yep.
Disney has said that this resort is themed to a blend of Spanish, Mexican, and Southwest American cultures. And we agree, you definitely feel that Spanish influence in the lobby of the tower with those large columns and the cage-looking accent in the front and back of the tower.
Yeah, agreed. Like those big columns, they remind me of La Sagrada Familia. Remember when we were in Barcelona?
Spain, and
like, again, we're bragging here. We've been to Spain.
I don't mean to brag.
But it does give off those vibes of the buildings in Barcelona.
Absolutely.
I found.
The lobby at this resort, which is the Gran Destino Tower, is just so beautiful. From the beautiful lantern wall to the color accents behind the counters to the sweeping view of the lower lobby and the Barcelona lounge, and then the lake is just beyond. It's really, really, really nice.
Yeah, agreed.
It definitely feels more like a deluxe resort. Honestly, it does. More so than the other moderate resorts.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep. The theming at this resort is really subtle, like a deluxe resort, more so than the other moderate resorts for sure.
Yep.
The resort is big, but it feels quiet. And it can be the perfect place for couples and then also be just a really great place for families as well.
Yep.
The buildings, so from the Gran Destino Tower, the casitas, ranchos, and cabanas, surround the Lago Dorado Lake. The rooms in this resort also received a refurb in recent years, and then the tower is still fairly new. It opened in 2019 and was a great addition to the resort. We've actually never stayed at the other ones because we
stayed in the tower and we loved it. So we're like, why would we stay anywhere else? Yeah.
Yeah, we don't give any love to the casitas, ranchos, or cabanas.
Yeah. But we know, like, we've seen the rooms there and they're quite nice.
So the rooms at this resort have vinyl flooring, cream-colored walls with hidden Mickeys, and then the subtle pops of color like orange and red. There's also different room categories here. These are standard rooms, suites, and then even club-level rooms. The resort is split between the tower, casitas, ranchos, and cabanas. Casitas are closest to the main lobby, and these are where the preferred rooms are located. Standard rooms anywhere else will be either standard room or water view, and will have 2 queen beds or 1 king bed. Prices here are going to vary between $300 and $340 per night, and a king bed will be a little bit higher, around $360 to $424 a night. Water room views will be around $30 more per night as well. The preferred rooms in Casita will be around $400 to $450 a night. Casitas also has 1-bedroom suites, which will be at least $1,100 per night, sometimes more.
Yep.
And then there are also executive suites in the casitas that run over $1,600 per night. These suites here are definitely not worth it to us. If you're going to pay that kind of price, you're definitely better off booking at a deluxe resort and then getting those perks and probably being walking distance to at least one park.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like if you're going to be paying over $1,000 a night, exactly. Go to Polynesian, go to Grand Floridian, go to Contemporary, stay in a like theme park view room.
Yeah.
That's going to get more bang for your buck, in my opinion. The tower itself is a separate booking category on its own. So like everything Lucy's mentioned so far is either casitas or the other buildings. The tower, like if you're even booking on the Disney website, you're going to see it's like a separate area that you're going to be booking. They have standard rooms here as well. You can either choose a standard view or a water view. The kicker here is that the standard view actually faces the front of the resort, which is the parking lot. Sure, but it also faces Hollywood Studios and Epcot. You can actually see Epcot fireworks from a standard view room at higher floors, and you can see lights from Fantasmic as well, and you can actually see the peaks from Galaxy's Edge. It's not a bad deal in our opinion.
Agreed.
The standard rooms have 2 queen beds or 1 king bed, and these are usually in the $400 to $450 per night range. This is where we've stayed at every time we've stayed here. The tower also has club level rooms, like we alluded to earlier, which gives you access to the Kronos Club, which has complimentary food and drinks, as well as complimentary concierge services. These are usually in the $650 to $750 per night range. Again, this is only worth it if you're going to be spending like a lot of time at the resort to actually take advantage of that, Kronos Club. If not, it's just not worth it. We're gone the vast majority of the day, right? When we go, we spend a lot of time at the parks, right? We don't spend a lot of time at the resort. It's just not worth it for us. They have deluxe suites that are in the $900 to $1,000 per night range. And they have 1-bedroom suites that will run you $1,200 to $1,400 per night. And then the presidential suite, which is $2,300 to $2,600 per night. Again, if you're paying those prices, go deluxe. That's all we're going to say about
absolutely.
that. Book like those at the Poly on the water. The
little huts almost.
Yeah, but what are those called? Oh God, I can't think of the name now, but the huts on the water at the Polynesian, they're like ridiculously expensive. They're super point heavy. They're DVC, right? But like that's getting into those prices, like $2,000 a night. Like, come on.
You might as well go there.
That's so expensive.
Couldn't agree more. Let's talk transportation next. This resort gets a bad reputation when it comes to transportation because it only has the bus transportation. So there's no boats, Skyliner, nada, just the buses. But it's actually super centrally located. Disney classifies this as being in the Animal Kingdom area, and I can definitely see why. From the top floors, you can see the peak of Expedition Everest not far away. But literally on the other side, you can see the peaks of Galaxy's Edge and Spaceship Earth and the Swan and Dolphin and Swan Reserve right across the street. So it's literally close to everything. It's a little bit further from Magic Kingdom, but no more than the other resorts near Epcot and Hollywood Studios. It's super quick bus ride to Epcot, Hollywood Studios, and Animal Kingdom, and then it's probably about a 10-minute max ride to Magic Kingdom. There is also the internal bus loop at this resort with 4 stops, but just like at the other resorts, Disney compensates for that and will factor in that time to get you to the parks in time for rope drop. We've noticed that over many different stays at different resorts, when we stay at Coronado Springs, for example, the bus will pick up earlier because you've got that internal loop system and the driving time. Whereas when you're staying at, let's say, Wilderness Lodge, for example, the pickup was much later because there's only that one stop and it's close to Magic Kingdom. Disney knows what they're doing. We've been the first bus to be let out at the parks when staying at Coronado, and so don't let that bus transportation deter you. It's super reliable. And for the order of the pickup, the buses to the parks start at Casitas, then Ranchos, then Cabanas, and then the tower is actually last. The Disney bus spring starts actually at the tower first, then Casitas, then Ranchos, and then Cabanas last. We've walked from the tower to Casitas first thing in the morning just to make sure we get on that bus. We do that every single morning.
100%.
It just works for us. And that's actually kind of when we're drinking our coffee in the morning. So it's perfect.
Yep.
Having said that, the buses have never really actually filled up in our experience.
Yes, that's right.
We're just gluttons for punishment, I guess, because we know they don't actually fill up, but we still do it every single time.
Yeah, it's probably not even necessary,
No.
but we
leave
like,
so early in the morning. Nobody else is getting up that
we're
early.
major rope droppers, right? Like we want to be
dedicated.
the front at the turnstiles, so we always do that. But I agree, it's probably overkill. But hey,
if you're staying at the tower, you probably can just wait for your tower bus.
Exactly. But you know what? It makes us happy. It gives us peace of mind that we'll be, for sure on that first bus. So why not?
Yeah, I agree.
All right, next up, let's cover dining. And actually, just a little aside here. While Lucy was talking, I looked it up, and it's the Polynesian bungalows. That's what's over the water.
That makes sense.
That was driving me crazy, but it's the bungalows. Anyways, dining. So in case we haven't talked it up enough yet, this is where Coronado really shines. It has much, much more dining options than any other moderate resort we've mentioned so far today. And then it even has more than most of the deluxe resorts as well. First up, you've got Cafe Rick's, which is just a grab-and-go option for, coffee, pastries, and similar items. Not far from here is Rick's Sports Bar and Grill. This is a table service restaurant that serves up pub-style food. So think burgers, nachos, and similar items that should appeal to most guests. El Mercado de Coronado is the main quick service location here and has all the menu options you'd expect to find at a quick service, as well as some Mexican and Spanish-inspired dishes that are unique to this location. And the best part, they have Dole Whip here.
Yeah, it's a big plus having that Dole Whip.
100%. This is a tradition for us at this point. Our check-in day, we dine at Three Bridges, and we come have a Dole Whip here for dessert. God, I love this resort. And on that note, Three Bridges Bar and Grill at Villa del Lago is located on Lago Dorado and is literally on the water. And it's at the intersection of literally three bridges. That's why it's called Three Bridges. It's an open air restaurant with sweeping views of the tower and the other buildings and the lake. It's just a beautiful, beautiful setting. It gives very similar vibes to Geyser Point at Wilderness Lodge.
Very
think
true.
open air right on the water. Plus, the menu here is amazing. They've got some delicious food options, and they also have a lovely sangria flight that we get every time. When we're at Three Bridges, having some sangria, like we know we're on vacation. God, I love this resort.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. I honestly think that our next go around with the kids, not this one coming up, we should stay here.
Yeah, no. We love it here, so why not?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the Maya Grill is yet another table service restaurant with traditional Mexican fare, and then they also have handcrafted margaritas here, very similar to what you're going to find over at the Mexican Pavilion at Epcot. Toledo Tapas Steak and Seafood is located on the top floor of the Gran Destino Tower. They serve lovely tapas, steaks, charcuterie, great handcrafted cocktails. It feels like a signature restaurant, but it's actually not that expensive. The setting is beautiful with sweeping views of the resort, and then the Epcot fireworks view is there as well. Definitely worth coming to this resort to experience that.
Yeah, agreed.
When you get to the top floor, Toledo is going to be on your left, and the Dahlia Lounge is going to be on your right. So here you can enjoy more tapas and light bites and delicious cocktails, and then those same sweeping views and fireworks views. The Barcelona Lounge is in the lower lobby of the resort. This is a beautiful lounge with lively colored accents behind the counter. They serve specialty coffees and cocktails and light bites. Pro tip here, they actually open really early, so at 6:30 every morning. So we are always going there to grab our coffee before we head out to our park day on the way to the bus stop.
Yeah, 100%.
We actually love it because they have those big pots of coffee.
Yep.
You get your to-go cup. Oliver can drink his coffee really
I usually
fast.
chug one and then
he
we grab
chugs
another
one,
one
and
for
I'm
the
good
road,
with just my one to sip on.
Yep.
So it works perfectly for us.
Yeah, no, 100%. And 6:30 is a good opening time because a lot of places don't open till 7. And depending when the park opens, you're going to be at the bus stop before it ever opens.
Yep.
And even this place that opens at 6:30, when Animal Kingdom opens at 8, early entry is 7:30, and we're on the bus before that.
Yep, absolutely.
Right, so we don't actually have time to get a coffee on our
That's
Animal Kingdom
the only one
day.
is Animal Kingdom.
Yep.
Laguna Bar is just outside the lower lobby and has lighter bites and specialty and non-alcoholic cocktails. Siesta Cantina is close to the dig site pool area. This has burgers, salads, appetizers, and then those alcoholic and non-alcoholic drinks, which is definitely good when you're hanging out near the pool.
Yeah, agreed.
So as you can see, there are a huge selection of dining options here at this resort. And this is why, another reason why it's my favorite.
No, 100%. I couldn't agree more, right? There's so many options to choose from. It's great for that. Like, absolutely. And in terms of amenities and recreation, there are 2 fitness centers here, which is normally only found at deluxe resorts. The other moderate resorts and value resorts don't have fitness centers, right? And there are 2 here.
This is definitely why we say it feels deluxe.
Yeah,
like
100%,
just
right?
Those little perks.
Yeah, the club level rooms, the fitness center.
There's just something about it. Yeah.
100%. There's also spa services at La Vida Health Club. And of course, you have the standard movies under the stars, campfire activities. You have the Colors of Coronado painting experience, make your own Spanish mosaic art, beach volleyball. There's a walking and running trail around Lago Dorado Lake, and there's a playground area and the Iguana Arcade. There's also a paid experience here at Three Bridges named Sangria University. This is a 90-minute experience where you're going to learn about the history of sangria and sample the 4 house sangrias and some light bites. You also get to make your own sangria, which is a fun experience. Gray was our host cast member when we did this back in 2022, and he was phenomenal.
So fun.
He was our waiter at Three Bridges on a subsequent trip, and he didn't remember us.
Rude.
But we remembered
it's like
him.
He sees a bunch of people all the time.
He was awesome.
Yeah, he was.
And then the flagship pool, like Lucy mentioned, at this resort is located at the dig site, and it's called the Lost City of Cibola Pool and features a 50-foot pyramid with a 123-foot water slide running through it. There's also a kiddie pool nearby for the smaller littles. There's also a 22-person hot tub here, the largest on Disney property. Another nice feature.
Yep.
There are also 3 leisure pools here located at Casitas, Ranchos, and Cabanas. So in each of the other like resort area, essentially. And for a more relaxed, quieter atmosphere for a dip, essentially. But again, the action is at the dig site, right? So your kids are probably going to want to go there.
Yes.
So have we talked it up enough? In case you haven't guessed, we love Coronado, right? We can definitely recommend it. It's centrally located. It has a ton of great dining options. It's great for couples and adults, but it has all the amenities you need for your kids, and your kids are going to love it as well.
So with that being said, is it worth it to move up a tier and stay in a moderate resort over a value resort? Well, again, only you can make that decision. Are some of the things we talked about enough to sway you? That could definitely be the Royal Rooms at Riverside, or the Skyliner Hub access at Caribbean, or the dining options at Coronado. We like to give you guys the information so that you can decide what's most important to you and then make that informed decision about what would be best for you and your families. So we really hope that this helps and will allow you to narrow down where you would like to stay.
Yeah, exactly. Our goal is to arm you with knowledge, right? So that you guys can turn around and have a good chance of staying somewhere where you know you're going to love and thoroughly enjoy, right? Thoroughly enjoy your stay. That's what we're looking for.
You're paying good money for these resorts to stay
100%.
on Disney property. So it's definitely worth it to immerse yourself in the resort as much as the parks.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like friends of ours, you know, they stayed at Coronado last year. They loved it.
Yeah.
Friends of ours are upcoming or staying at Art of Animation, and I'm sure they're going to love it, right? That's what we're looking to do, is just help you guys, you know, get a sense for what's out there, what's available, and then hopefully have a really good trip.
Absolutely.
With that said, thank you so much for joining us today to talk moderate resorts. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. And as always, if you could leave us a rating and review, it would be greatly appreciated. If you choose to do so, you can leave reviews right on Apple Podcasts. And for Spotify, you can leave a rating.
You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at Let's Go to Disney, as well as on our Facebook page, Let's Go to Disney. We share some helpful reels here as well as some fun ones. The link tree in the show notes will take you to all of our socials.
Have a great day, and we'll see you real soon.